shadows before the storm, the galaxy had always known one truth. The Dominion fleet could not be defeated. For centuries, their ships spread across the stars like iron shadows, enforcing order through fear. Entire civilizations bent their knees before the Dominion, offering tribute in exchange for survival. No species had dared to fight them directly. None had survived when they tried. And yet, in the dark corner of a spiral arm, a species called humanity was rising. For decades, humans had remained quiet. They had expanded their colonies, built their trade routes, and sent explorers to map distant sectors. The Dominion ignored them at first, considering them too small, too fractured, too insignificant to matter. But humans were patient. They watched. They learned. They studied every encounter, every war, every mistake of others who tried to resist. The first contact was not peaceful. A Dominion patrol crossed into human territory, demanding subjugation. The humans answered not with fear, but with silence. No tribute, no surrender. Only a warning, do not come again. The Dominion laughed. No one had ever spoken to them like that. They sent more ships, a small fleet to demonstrate their power. But something strange happened. The human colonies did not burn. The Dominion ships did not return. Rumors spread. Some whispered the humans had used trickery. Others believed the Dominion fleet had simply disappeared into a rift. But in truth, it was neither. The humans had destroyed them. Still, the galaxy did not believe. It was easier to dismiss the humans as lucky or cunning. The Dominion continued to grow, ignoring the warning signs. Humanity, meanwhile, remained silent again. They did not boast. They did not spread stories of their victory. Instead, they built quietly in the shadows, preparing for the storm that everyone else thought could never come. Years later, the Dominion made its move. The Central Command had grown arrogant. Their scouts reported human colonies rich with resources, prime targets for expansion. To the Dominion, humans were still upstarts, unworthy of recognition. And so they gathered one of their unbeatable fleets, an armada of dreadnoughts, cruisers, and carriers that had crushed countless species before. The fleet darkened the skies of human space. Planets trembled. Civilian networks crackled with fear. Billions watched from their homes as alien warships blotted out the stars. This was not a raid. This was annihilation. The Dominion commander sent a single transmission: kneel or perish. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. Everyone expected humanity to break at last, to kneel as all others had. After all, no one could stand against the Dominion. But then the human response came. A calm voice answered across the stars. You came here believing we are weak. You came here believing we are like the others. You came here believing your fleet is unstoppable. You are wrong, silence followed. The Dominion commander smirked, amused by the defiance. To him, it was nothing more than bravado before death. But within humanity, the message was clear. It was not only a declaration of war, it was the signal. Across human space, fleets that had never been revealed emerged from hidden docks. Warships long kept secret ignited their drives. Soldiers prepared in silence for decades took their places. Technology developed in secret labs. Silent weapons, adaptive shields, railguns capable of piercing through dreadnought armor, was finally ready for war. The galaxy had not noticed the slow rise of humanity's power. They saw only a quiet species, content to trade and explore. They did not see the factories hidden beneath barren moons, the stations orbiting nameless asteroids. The networks of colonies united under one unshakable purpose. Humans had been preparing for this day. The Dominion fleet advanced, confident, laughing at the small number of ships that appeared first to meet them. The battle began with blinding light, energy beams ripping across the void. Human ships took the first hits, shields flaring. The Dominion thought victory was already theirs. But then, something unexpected happened. Human ships did not break. They moved with precision, like hunters who had studied their prey for generations. Each shot was calculated. Each formation was deliberate. Dominion cruisers fell one by one, caught in traps they did not even recognize until it was too late. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion fleet hesitated, and in that hesitation, The galaxy witnessed the first spark of fear in those who claimed to be unbeatable. The storm had begun. The Silent Arsenal. The Dominion commander had never seen resistance like this. Every species before had crumbled at the first strike, their fleets breaking apart like glass against steel. But the humans fought differently. They did not charge blindly. They did not retreat in panic. They moved with purpose, every formation built to trap, every maneuver designed to confuse. Human warships darted between the massive dreadnoughts like wolves among lumbering beasts. The Dominion fleet was larger, stronger and older, but suddenly it felt clumsy. The commander barked orders, sending wave after wave forward. Heavy cruisers advanced, firing torrents of plasma, their beams cutting through space with unstoppable fury. Yet human shields flared and held, and when they finally buckled, the ships did not fall silent. Instead, armor peeled away, revealing secondary plating beneath, layers of defense the Dominion had never expected. One Dominion battleship locked onto a smaller human vessel, ready to vaporize it. But before it could fire, 3 human destroyers appeared from nowhere, weapons blazing. They struck the battleship's weak points with uncanny accuracy. The Dominion vessel exploded, its wreckage scattering across the void. Gasps spread even among the Dominion officers. Their ships had always been superior, yet here they were being torn apart piece by piece. How? The answer lay far from the battlefield, deep within humanity's hidden history. For years, while the Dominion expanded, humans had studied war in silence. They had not just built ships, they had built strategies. They trained not for one battle, but for every possible battle. They dissected every known fleet tactic, then designed counters for them all. Where other species resisted for pride, humanity prepared for survival. Hidden across barren moons and lifeless worlds were shipyards invisible to Dominion scanners. From them, sleek vessels had been born, machines of war crafted with a single purpose, to face the unbeatable. Their designs were unconventional, unpredictable, and flexible. No Dominion admiral had ever studied them, because until this day they had never been seen, but ships alone were not humanity's greatest weapon. It was the people who commanded them. Unlike Dominion captains who followed rigid traditions and inflexible orders, human officers were taught to think like hunters. They could adapt mid-battle, change strategies in seconds, and seize any weakness. Where the Dominion valued obedience, humanity valued creativity. And it was creativity that began to break the unbeatable fleet. On the front line, Dominion dreadnoughts pushed forward, confident in their size. Human ships responded by scattering, drawing them into tight formations where their heavy guns became useless. Then, suddenly, hidden rail platforms on nearby asteroids revealed themselves, firing kinetic rounds faster than light. The Dominion dreadnoughts cracked apart under the rain of steel. The commander roared in anger. "Find those weapons! Silence them!" But by the time Dominion bombers moved in, the platforms had already shifted. Automated stations detaching from asteroids, relocating like ghosts. Wherever the Dominion turned, the humans had already moved. Still, the Dominion fleet pressed on. Their pride demanded it. To retreat was unthinkable. To lose was impossible. They deployed their carriers, unleashing swarms of fighters. Thousands of small craft screamed into battle, covering the stars like a cloud of locusts. For a moment, the human fleet seemed overwhelmed. Their ships vanished under the storm of enemy fighters. Explosions lit up space. Civilian colonies watching the battle across the galaxy held their breath. Certain humanity would finally collapse. But then, the counterstrike came. From the dark side of a nearby planet, squadrons of human fighters launched in silence. Smaller, faster, sharper than their Dominion counterparts, they burst into the fray with precision. They did not fight in scattered chaos. They moved in coordinated packs, hunting the Dominion swarms as predators. One by one, Dominion squadrons fell apart. The commander's smirk had long vanished. His face hardened as the realization grew. This was no minor rebellion. This was no desperate resistance. This was war on a scale he had never imagined. Reports flooded his command deck. Losses mounting, outer lines collapsing, enemy tactics unknown. Still, Pride forced him onward. Advance! Crush them before more arrive! But more were already arriving. On the horizon, fresh human fleets dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Entire battle groups revealed themselves, warships bearing the banners of united colonies. For centuries, the Dominion had believed humanity was fractured, divided into petty factions. But here they were, united, stronger together than anyone had guessed. The humans had been hiding their strength, waiting for this moment. And now, as the Dominion pressed forward, they realized too late that they were not facing a scattered frontier species. They were facing a predator that had prepared for this hunt for generations. The unbeatable fleet was no longer advancing. It was being swallowed, and somewhere deep in the command deck, a single thought began to crawl into the Dominion commander's mind, an emotion he had not felt in decades: fear. The turning tide. The Dominion commander watched in disbelief as the battle slipped from his grasp. What was meant to be a swift show of dominance had become a grinding struggle. His fleet, praised across the galaxy as unbeatable, was bleeding. For every human vessel destroyed, 3 Dominion ships fell. For every trap broken, another appeared. The humans fought as though they had rehearsed this war 1,000 times before. And perhaps, in their way, they had. The commander ordered his dreadnought line to tighten, shields overlapping to create a wall of firepower. It was a maneuver that had crushed countless enemies in the past. Entire civilizations had ended before that wall. Surely the humans would break as well, but they did not. Instead, the human fleet split apart, dividing into smaller wings. They slipped between the Dominion's rigid lines, breaking the formation from within. One wing drew the dreadnought's attention with heavy bombardment, while another cut straight for the carriers hiding in the rear. Explosions lit the void. Dominion fighters, once countless, were now leaderless. Without their carriers to command and resupply them, they scattered into chaos. The galaxy was watching. Across neutral systems, broadcasts carried the battle in real time. Civilizations who had lived in fear of the Dominion leaned closer to their screens, whispering in disbelief. Could the impossible be happening? Yes, the humans were not just resisting. They were winning, but victory did not come from ships alone. On hidden command stations, human tacticians directed the flow of battle with cold precision. Every move the Dominion made was met with a counter. Every weapon fired was used to bait them into traps. Even the Dominion's technological pride, its plasma lances, its shield-breaking torpedoes, its AI-assisted targeting systems, were being outmatched. Humans had developed countermeasures specifically for them. It was as if they had known exactly what the Dominion would bring. Perhaps they had. For decades, human spies and scouts had gathered fragments of data, studying Dominion tactics in secret. What the Dominion thought was arrogance in ignoring humanity had been their greatest mistake. It had given humans the time to prepare. The Dominion commander slammed a fist against the console. Reports flooded in. 4th Fleet destroyed. Carrier wings eliminated. Forward dreadnought lost. His officers grew restless, their voices tinged with something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Meanwhile, aboard human ships, calm determination reigned. Crews worked like clockwork, voices steady even as alarms blared. They knew this day would come. They had trained for it. This was the moment humanity revealed itself not as prey, but as predator. Then came the strike that broke the Dominion's confidence. A single human battleship, small compared to the Dominion giants, slipped through the chaos and drove straight at the flagship formation. It should have been suicide. Dominion cannons fired in unison, a storm of plasma burning across the black. Yet the battleship endured, shields flaring, armor cracking. At the last moment, its weapon bays opened, revealing a new kind of railgun, one never before seen in galactic war. The gun fired a slug of dense metal at near-light speed. It pierced the Dominion flagship's shield, tore through its armor, and exited the other side as if the ship were paper. The flagship's core detonated. A blinding flash split the darkness, scattering wreckage for thousands of kilometers. For the first time in living memory, a Dominion flagship had fallen. Silence spread across the command deck. Officers stared at the view screens, unable to believe what they were seeing. The commander himself froze, rage and fear clashing within him. The galaxy trembled. On distant worlds, species long crushed under Dominion rule erupted in cheers. The image of the destroyed flagship spread like wildfire. Whispers turned to shouts. The Dominion can be beaten, but humanity did not cheer. They pressed the attack. Their fleets surged forward, striking hard at the collapsing Dominion line. More dreadnoughts fell. Cruisers broke apart. The once mighty swarm of fighters was reduced to scattered wreckage. The humans had momentum now. They moved like a tide that could not be stopped, overwhelming every defense. The Dominion commander tried to rally his ships, but the truth was undeniable. His fleet was no longer the hunter. It was the hunted. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled by fear, claiming no enemy could withstand them. But here, in this moment, their legend shattered. The unbeatable fleet was not unbeatable at all, and humanity was only beginning to show its true strength. The fall of the giants. The Dominion commander's voice shook as he barked orders, though he tried to hide it. His officers obeyed, but their eyes betrayed fear. The walls of dominance built for centuries were cracking. Around them, the once mighty Dominion fleet was coming apart. Columns of fire stretched across the void as cruisers shattered. Dreadnoughts, long considered invincible, lay crippled and drifting. The unbeatable armada was bleeding faster than it could strike back. The humans pressed their advantage. They did not rush blindly, nor did they show mercy. Every movement was exact, every strike purposeful. Like hunters driving a cornered beast, they herded the Dominion ships into killing grounds. On one flank, a group of Dominion warships attempted to retreat, engines flaring. But as they turned, human stealth vessels decloaked, their railguns unleashing devastating fire. The fleeing ships never reached safety. Elsewhere, Dominion carriers tried to launch reinforcements, but their bays erupted in flames as precision strikes hit them from long-range artillery platforms hidden within asteroid belts. The Dominion commander cursed under his breath. He could not understand it. Humanity should not have had this power. Their colonies were young, their fleets untested, and yet, here they were, fighting as though they had prepared for this war longer than the Dominion itself had ruled. Perhaps they had. For centuries, the Dominion's arrogance had blinded them. They believed themselves eternal, untouchable, and in that arrogance they had ignored humanity. The humans had studied in silence, learning the Dominion's every tactic, every weapon, every weakness. Now those weaknesses were being exploited with merciless efficiency. The humans unleashed weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Massive rail slugs that pierced shields as if they were nothing. Drones that swarmed silently, disrupting communications and disabling engines. Adaptive armor that shifted its properties under fire, absorbing energy that should have destroyed them. But their most terrifying weapon was not their machines. It was their unity. The Dominion had always thrived on division, conquering species that stood alone. But humanity did not stand alone. For the first time, their scattered colonies and factions had come together under one banner. They moved as a single force, driven by survival, by determination, and by something the Dominion could never understand: hope. The Dominion commander felt the tide slipping beyond recovery. Reports came faster now. 30 ships lost. Flag carrier destroyed. Outposts overrun. His fleet was collapsing in on itself. He considered retreat. But retreat meant admitting the impossible, that the unbeatable had been beaten. To retreat was to shatter the illusion that kept the Dominion's empire together. Fear was their true weapon, and once it was gone, their rule would crumble. Still, survival whispered to him. He gave the order. Signal the rear guard. Prepare for emergency withdrawal. But it was already too late. Human fleets had anticipated this moment. Interdiction fields lit up across the battlefield, locking the Dominion ships in place. Their drives sputtered. Their escape routes vanished. The humans had prepared for every possibility, even retreat. The Dominion commander's face went pale. For the first time in his long career, he felt what countless others had felt when facing his fleets: helplessness. On the human side, the command centers were calm, almost cold. No celebrations, no boasting. Just steady, relentless coordination. Humanity was not fighting for pride. They were fighting to end a threat that had stalked the galaxy for ages. And so, the slaughter continued. One by one, Dominion ships fell silent. Explosions rippled across the stars like dying suns. The once glorious fleet, the hammer of the Dominion, was reduced to wreckage drifting in the void. As the final dreadnought cracked apart, the humans broadcast a single message across the system, a voice carried to every listening ear. The era of fear is over. The words spread faster than light, carried across civilian networks, whispered in secret rooms, shouted in crowded streets. Species long oppressed by the Dominion looked to the stars with new hope. The impossible had happened. The unbeatable had fallen. But humanity did not stop there. Even as the last Dominion wreckage burned, their fleets moved with precision, securing the field, scanning for survivors, dismantling every last remnant of resistance. This was not just a battle. It was a statement. The Dominion's reign of terror had been broken, and the galaxy would never be the same again. A new dawn for the galaxy. The battlefield was silent now. Wreckage floated in the cold dark, fragments of the Dominion's unbeatable fleet drifting like broken monuments. Fires burned inside shattered hulls, casting dim glows against the void. What had once been a symbol of terror was now nothing but debris. Human ships moved through the remains with slow precision. Rescue crews searched for survivors, pulling both human and Dominion alike from dying vessels. Humanity showed no joy, no triumph in the carnage. Their victory had been absolute, but it had come with cost. Human ships lay among the wreckage, too, scars of a battle that would be remembered for centuries. Still, the message was clear. The Dominion's legend was broken. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Entire worlds that had once bowed to Dominion rule erupted in celebration. Species long enslaved whispered the same words with trembling hope. If the humans can defeat them, maybe we can be free. On hidden colonies, rebels raised their banners. On conquered planets, underground movements emerged from the shadows. And in the Dominion's own core worlds, whispers of doubt spread through the people. The one thing the Dominion had always promised, that their fleets could never be beaten, was now proven false. In their arrogance, they had sown the seeds of their own collapse. The Dominion Council, far from the battlefield, met in chaos. Reports poured in, losses unthinkable, morale crumbling, colonies revolting. Some demanded vengeance, others demanded retreat. But none had answers. The fear that held their empire together was gone. Without fear, their grip weakened. Without fear, the galaxy stirred awake, and at the center of it all stood humanity. The humans did not claim themselves rulers. They did not broadcast threats. Instead, their fleets remained steady, their message simple: we will not kneel. We will not bow, and no tyrant will ever again rule the stars unchallenged. The galaxy listened. Some species offered alliances, eager to stand beside the victors. Others watched warily, wondering if humanity would rise as the next empire. But those who looked closely saw something different. Humanity had no interest in domination. They sought survival, unity, and freedom, for themselves and perhaps for others. In the aftermath, humanity revealed more of what they had built in secret. Networks of colonies stronger than anyone had guessed. Fleets larger than anyone believed possible. Factories hidden in barren systems, capable of producing war machines faster than the Dominion ever could. They had prepared not for conquest, but for the day the Dominion would come. And now that day had passed, humanity stood ready for whatever came next. The Dominion commander, captured from the ruins of his flagship, was brought before human officers. He stared at them with hollow eyes, pride broken, his voice weak. We were supposed to be eternal. The human admiral replied with quiet certainty. Nothing built on fear lasts forever. The words spread just as fast as the victory. They became a motto whispered across the stars, painted on walls, repeated in markets and homes. The Dominion had ruled with terror, but now the galaxy had a new story. Humanity had fought, and humanity had won. For the first time in generations, hope outweighed fear. Still, the humans knew this was not the end. The Dominion was vast and even broken. It would not disappear overnight. Others might rise to fill the void left behind. The galaxy would remain dangerous, unpredictable, and full of threats. But humanity was no longer underestimated. They had shown their strength, their unity, and their will. They had proved that preparation, patience, and resilience could bring down even the mightiest empire. And so, a new legend was born. No longer was the Dominion's fleet remembered as unbeatable. Instead, the galaxy told another tale, the tale of humanity, the species that had risen from the shadows, the species that had planned, endured, and struck with overwhelming power when the moment came, the tale of those who turned fear into ashes and lit a new dawn among the stars. The galaxy would never forget the day the unbeatable fleet fell, and they would never again underestimate humanity.